Hello everyone. Thank you for attending today's Watershed webinar, Immersive Technology, Exploring Nature Digitally. My name is Michael Sell, Program Coordinator for NOAA BWET at St. Francis University, and today's presenter. Let's get started.
So the presentation outline for today, we're going to look at what immersive technology is and how it can be used, look at creating our own immersive 360-degree scenes, some other digital tools like YouTube, Google Earth, and StoryMaps, and then share some prepared resources for you that you can implement right away into your classroom. There's a lot of links and examples which I'll be showing, so if there's anything that you specifically want, and I don't happen to share it with you, please let me know, but I'll have links at the end of the presentation where you can get to most of them. So I do want to note that the technology just continues to constantly change. So the information I may provide today could be outdated tomorrow. And also that the software and hardware discussed in the presentations, just for demonstration purposes, a lot of different varieties out there. We're not necessarily just because what we're showing doesn't constitute endorsement, so we're not playing favoritism one technology over another, and some of the things I might show you maybe aren't the best. Just happens to be what we're using. So what is immersive technology? Well, immersive technology is any technology that extends reality or creates a new reality by leveraging the 360-degree space. And so when I was thinking about, what kind does this look like? To me, this background image, hopefully you can see it, kind of is what I envision, putting something over my eyes and kind of being in this alternative world, I guess you could say. So this says, because immersive technology leverages the 360 space or sphere, users can look in any direction and see content. Some types of immersive technology extend reality by overlaying digital images on a user's environment. Others create a new reality by completely shutting a user out from the rest of the world and immersing them in a digital environment. And there's different types of immersive technology. There's 360, where a user can look at an image and video in any direction. Virtual reality, or VR, where the user engages in 360 content while being shut off from the rest of the world. So like if you do put something over your eyes. And then augmented reality, or AR, and this is where imagery shows up on top of the real world. So think of Pokemon Go. And VR has a pretty long history. Back in the 1830s, Charles Wheatstone was studying how the eyes see and depth perception, and he developed stereoscopic photos. So the left and the right eyes see slightly differently, but when you put them together, kind of like in a ViewMaster, you're able to get a 3D image. Jump ahead a good century and to the 1950s, and the Sensorama was developed by Morton Heilig. And this actually kind of tried to engage all of the senses. There was smell included here. I believe the seat moved. So you're immersed in this experience. And a few years later, he developed what kind of appears to be the first headset for VR. And this went over the eyes. And there was no tracking on that though. So if you kind of move, it didn't follow along. But it's definitely, something that you can see has been around now for quite a while. In 1987, the term virtual reality was coined by Jaron Lanier, or it was at least popularized by him. So the term's been around for a while, but the technology, debating on what exactly that is, has been around possibly for a lot longer. And it's come in phases. Now we can use this for a lot of different things. I think the first one, field trips, is probably a good application that we're talking about here today for the classroom, where you can visit somewhere new or somewhere where you can't take students. But it can also be used for training, for learning how to drive, fight a fire, conduct surgery. The healthcare fields can be a way to distract from pain. Of course, it can be used in arts and gaming. and even shopping experiences. Now, I just pulled this graphic. So this is kind of an opinion by Maria and Andrea, but some of the top 10 reasons to use virtual reality in the classroom. And of course, number one, to travel to and explore other places around the world without leaving the classroom, which is certainly a challenge in our pandemic world. Hopefully that is easing up now. But we're also able to experience different careers firsthand, travel to past events, and you can see just on down the list, lots of different applications that have potential. Now, when it comes to developing a scene, I thought it was important to mention thinking about place-based education and trying to help give a sense of the place that you're at. And this can include the cultural attributes, the natural attributes, authentic experiences, sustainable practices, and making an emotional connection to the location and where you're at. So if you were to think of, oh, I'm at the beach, that might be a place where you can relax. Now, there are some disadvantages. I was trying to think of some of those. It's not necessarily all just real positive things with immersive technology because it can get expensive. There are certainly some free resources out there. And the technology is constantly changing, as I've learned over the course of this project that we've been offering now for a couple of years. There's a potential learning curve to its use. Programs are built on a variety of different platforms. And it is adding to screen time, and I'm not sure that we necessarily need that. Maybe we need to be outside more. So whenever we're thinking about immersive technology, I note that we should not be viewing it as a replacement for being in the field if possible, but we can help support time in the field and try to use it to enhance the experience. So why immersive technology and watersheds at SFU? Well, if you know Lanika, the director of the Science Outreach Center, she has an inflatable dome, is able to show the stars in it, able to show movies in it. And this has gone around to a lot of classrooms, a lot of community events. So we've got some knowledge in this realm. And then also some really good environmental programs here at the university in the biology department, in engineering department, various programs here. So kind of the idea for this project actually came along before I was involved. So I got pulled into this afterwards and said, help implement this. But I term it immersive watersheds. And that's a term I kind of coined from pulling these two parts together. And so the idea was to bring these together and show imagery from nature in the dome. It's not exactly where we've ended up now, but that was the idea originally. So the idea was to capture imagery during outside classwork to take inside for further analysis. This could be capturing scenery that may otherwise be overlooked, capturing imagery from places students couldn't go or otherwise see for themselves, such as being underwater, or keeping a record of a location and what it was like at a certain time or what was there. So maybe you snap an image, take it back into the classroom and say, oh, there were 5 grasshoppers there or 20 ants, or, oh, I missed that there was this leaf there or this flower blooming because you couldn't take that whole scene in, but you're able to capture that whole image with this immersive technology. So here's kind of our voyage into the DIY immersive technology realm. And I wanted to start off by talking about the cameras, talking about capturing the imagery. Hang on, okay. And so this came from PC Magazine. It was an article called The Best 360 Cameras for 2021. And it says the other side of the fad. So as I mentioned, VR has been around for a while, 360's been around for a while now. But we're kind of in this fade out. And so as the name implies, it says, a 360-degree camera captures the entire world around it. They were a hot ticket item for a short time with dozens of models available. But the fad is over, the dust has settled, and some big names, including Samsung, have dropped out of the market. That leaves you with fewer buying choices today. GoPro makes the best consumer model we've tested, which is here, the Max model. So this one's running $379 right now. So a bit pricey, get pretty good quality images from what I understand. But I wanted to show you a few examples in case this is something you're interested in. Here we have ones, they range from $349 to I think $549 or something. My chat is covering up the window. Nope, 5. So the prices can vary. You can also do this with a smartphone or a digital camera. With the digital camera, you can take a lot of really high quality images. So if you really want a detailed image, that can be the way to go. But there's a lot of variety out there. Some of you may be familiar with this one. You've seen this one before, working with some of your schools. The Kodak SP360. This one's running $79 to $99. It's a small cube with a little dome on top. Dust-proof, shock-proof, somewhat splash-proof, and there's waterproof casing, so you can't immerse it in the water then. And it can be controlled remotely. Step up to the 4K model. This one's running $349. You can buy 2 for $449. And similar setup, buttons, structure, those types of things. And then Kodak also makes a dual-sided one, so you can see both ways at once on the same camera. And then there's software that comes with it. There's both a mobile unit and a desktop unit, so you can edit and record files. It works with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, so you can connect it to your phone or laptop. You can merge files and also export into a variety of modes. And this is for Apple and the Windows realms. To take a picture, you got a couple different options. You can just press the button and whatever's in the scene can be captured. The catch is that you can also be in the scene. So if you don't want to be there, then you need to think of another way to do it. So the second option is usually what I end up doing. I'll press the button, walk out of the video, come back. I'm taking a video, walk out of the scene, let it record, and then come back, and I'll cut out a picture of it later when I wasn't in it. Or the third option is to use that mobile or desktop app, walk away, press the button, and record. So you got a couple different ways to do it if that makes sense. The third option allows you to save some battery and recording space, but sometimes it's can be contrary to use the Wi-Fi and set it up. So I just kind of do the middle option. Does anybody have any questions at this point? I know I'm throwing a lot of information out there. So please, if you do have anything, feel free to put it in the chat there or chime in. So here is the image processing software, kind of just the various scenes that I have used there. And one thing I want to note is that whenever we're processing 360-degree imagery, it goes into equirectangular projection. And so that's the format that you want to get it into so that the programs that display 360-degree pictures display it properly. So here's a couple examples. This one is at Canal Basin Park in Hollidaysburg, and it's along the stream, the Frankstown branch of the Juniata River, I believe, or not Frankstown, Beaver? No, I forget. Anyway, you can see that it's 360 by 235 degree field of view. And you can also see that there were some fingerprints on the camera. So over here in the left, there's kind of like a blurriness. So whenever you're doing this, there's a couple of things to think about, including making sure that there aren't fingerprints on your camera. Here's a picture from Pickerel Pond at Prince Gallitzin State Park. You can see this is at the edge of the field. Again, we've got this stretched out imagery, particularly at the top and the bottom. This is full 360. I made this using 2 cameras back to back. And so you can get that full view, whereas with the last one, we've only got a partial 360 view. And I'll show you an example here in a minute you can play with. Here's a picture from the Hollidaysburg YMCA rain garden sign. And so I stuck the camera on the sign, but where it lines up, the two images merged and there's kind of like an overlap. And so that's kind of a challenge with this, as well as I got the camera shadow in the view. So it's something to think about when you're creating images. You can also see down at the bottom, the black areas is actually the base of the camera. So it's not perfect, but I think it does a pretty good job of capturing the view. And then here is a picture out in the woods. And if you notice over here on the right-hand side, the leaf is kind of faded. And so the merging there, it doesn't quite line up when you're really close to objects. One other fun thing, just for the fun of it, I threw this in. It's called Little Planet Projection. So this is another thing you can do with 360. And this is a picture of the university campus here in Loretto. If you've been to campus, you may know the St. Francis statue that is in the middle of the campus mall. And so you can kind of change the projection of the 360 imagery to this other view. And so the statue's kind of like popping up out of the world. You can see the Science Center down here in the bottom, the chapel, and the rest of the campus. So that's something else you can do with the imagery that you create. Now, if you want to edit the images, usually there's going to be a software provided with the camera, but sometimes you might want to do something on your own, or if you're creating your own images with, like, say, your own digital camera. Options can include Adobe Photoshop. There's a program I found called Bixorama. There's also a 360 toolkit that at least allows you to preview the imagery. I don't have a ton of experience in this field. I've been looking for some examples or possible, tools to use in this, and haven't found anything really great to refer people to, but I'll keep looking, and if anybody knows of any, feel free to share them. But if you got questions, let me know. Now on to the other side of it. Once we've got the imagery, how do we display it? Well, our first thought was to use a dome. And there's a program through Beals Science, teacher, if you're familiar with him, that designed the Beal Planetarium. And so this is a cardboard planetarium consisting of many pentagons and hexagons. And you can see, I think it's something like 70 some pieces of cardboard put together to create this very large planetarium. So here are some pictures of his classroom, the students putting together this large dome. And that's the completed structure. I think it's about 16 feet wide inside. And then they use a domed mirror to reflect a projector onto, and then onto the wall of the dome on the inside. So the white is facing the inside, it's white on the inside and brown cardboard on the outside. And so in this example, they were showing a volcano with lava coming down it. Here was our attempt at it a couple of years ago. And so here are all the cardboard pieces cut up. It took 3 or 4 days to get all the pieces folded and cut and measured out and everything. And then we were working with Bedford Elementary School at the time. Some of the teachers assisted with this. It was a probably 2-3 hour process to get this together. And here's the finished product. So if we were going to do this in a permanent location, there are cardboard screws that would actually hold this together permanently. We were not able to use the space here in our science center for more than the day, so we used zip ties. Wasn't quite as sturdy, and it did allow for some cracks in between the pieces, and we had light coming through. So if you were to do this, we'd recommend doing it in a darker space. So it wasn't the most sturdy, but it did serve our purposes, and we accomplished the task of being able to demonstrate that it was possible. Now, when you compare this to our inflatable dome, it's fairly quick and easy to set up the inflatable one, but the cost of buying one is pretty expensive. So that's a big drawback. With the cardboard one, probably about $1,000 invested. So it's relatively cheap compared to the inflatable one. But the time that it took to build it and the space constraints can be a challenge. With the pandemic, we had to abandon this element of the program, but we could revisit it in the future. We are able to show the 360 images that we capture and video in the inflatable dome. We do have this cardboard dome available. If anybody would like to have it and put it together, it's just sitting in an office right now. I'm sure a lot of your classes are also constrained, but you are welcome to have it or borrow it to put together if you would like. Certainly not for younger students, but maybe a high school. So what can we do when we're not using a dome? What virtual alternatives are there? And this is kind of the route that we then took when the dome situation wasn't as viable as we thought it would be, and also because of the pandemic and not being able to socially distance inside that small space. One of the things I was going to talk about today was Google Tour Creator, but Google is closing that down in June. So as I mentioned, the technology continues to change. Google has found that their expeditions program, their tour creator, just aren't the way to go, I guess. And so that program, which was pretty useful, is being shut down. So some alternatives that I've been using include Memento 360, RoundMe, and YouTube. And there's plenty more out there. These file sharing sites where you can share your imagery and your videos and also view other creations. So for Memento 360, you get 2 gigabytes of free file sharing space for your images or video. The video kind of runs slow, so if you're going to do video, I recommend going with YouTube, but it is possible to share it on this site. You can do things publicly or privately, and it does support VR if you did want to use headsets. And I've done that with a couple of my images, and it's been pretty cool to look around at things and see the sites. So here is kind of the interface with that. It's real easy to use this program. Once you have your 360 image, you hit upload. It uploads it in about 10 seconds, and you can spin around and look at the image right away. It's really, really easy to use once you create an account. Here is a picture of a scene that I created of the softball field here at campus, right at the edge of it. The white space is an area of interest, so you can click on it then and check it out and learn more about it. And down at the bottom, you can see there are multiple squares here, so you're able to go to different scenes. So we created a Watershed trail tour, which I'll show you in a few moments, and you can click from scene to scene to scene. So at this point, I am going to put a link in the chat. And if you are able to click on it and go to this site and check out the scene that I've created and see if you can identify the plant that is there. And then I'm going to pull up a poll and see if you can identify it. You may or may not know the plant, but go ahead and see if you can get to that site and explore this scene. So if you don't know how to use it, you can it's automatically going to spin around very slowly, but you can also click and drag. So go ahead and try that out. All right, so I'm going to switch my screen. Let's jump to here. And as I pull it over, for those of you who maybe weren't able to see it, hopefully you can see this now. I'm talking about this here. And as it appears, most of you, I'll end the pulling here, have said skunk cabbage, which is the correct answer. So skunk cabbage is one of the first flowers that comes out in the spring. It has a very strong odor, so it gets its name because of that, being like a skunk. And it's a neat plant because it's able to generate its own heat enough so that when there's still snow on the ground, it can come sprouting up out of that and melt the snow around it. So this was a plant that I saw emerging last year at Canoe Creek State Park. And so I thought that'd be a cool application to share. So thank you, everybody. Now let me come back to my presentation. Okay, so there's a picture of the skunk cabbage in bloom. Another application was the tiny classroom project with the Institute for Energy. So my other part of my job is doing outreach about energy. And so this tiny classroom we built back in 2017 has solar panels on the roof. It's a 160 square foot little educational classroom. We got biomass heating, battery storage, various energy technologies and sustainability related themes in it. And behind the whiteboard, we have different installations. So because I wasn't able to go out on the road with this with the pandemic, of course, another tiny space, planetariums, tiny spaces, just seems to be a kind of a running theme here. I was able to create a virtual tour for people to go onto the website and at least be able to see it virtually. And so here, you can see these installations that are behind the whiteboard. You can click around and see the pictures of the lighting and various other applications. So this is another way I was able to incorporate immersive technology into what we're doing here outreach-wise. Another program that's available is RoundMe. This one, instead of having a limit to how many, like a gigabyte of storage, you can get 15 free uploads per week. Now the catch with this one is it's viewable publicly. So they have a listing of all the different things that are there and you can go and look at them. So that's something to consider if you want privacy, but you can upgrade for like $8 or $9 a month for that. This one has a little bit more of a modern interface in my view compared to Memento 360. But there are some more like buttons to click and things. It does support VR. And so I'll share this second link. You can take a look at this one and kind of how it differs. Again, you can click around in this and drag and drop if you want to kind of zoom around it. And the nice thing is they do have the areas of interest, so that eye there above the water lily, you can click and see that. And then you can also add sound, which is really neat. So if you want to do narration, if you want to add in the sound of a frog in the pond, that is a different feature compared to Memento 360, and I thought it was pretty neat. So there's a link to that. Hopefully that works for you. You are welcome to check that one out as well. And like with Memento 360, you can build a collection of locations. And then with YouTube, this is a free site. You can share it privately or publicly. Again, it supports VR. With this one, you have to go through a special process to inject some metadata into it in order for it to be VR capable. It's not difficult, but it is just an added step. Here is crayfish in a bucket, and I am going to attempt to show this to you. if it will load. So hang on a second here. I will switch to this screen. Hopefully you can see it here. Here we go. All right, so this is a short video. And you are able to move it around. There was sound. I suspect you're not hearing it, which I apologize for, but that is a another feature of the video. Are there any questions at this point? Anything you want to know about? All makes sense. If you have anything, please let me know. Now, moving on, with the pandemic, of course, trying to do professional development. Usually when we have teachers come here to campus, we do a tour of the Watershed Trail, which is about 1.5 mile long trail here on the university property. Beautiful trail, lots of different, I don't know if they're biomes, but different sections of the trail, different scenes, the lake, there's a field, all types of different areas to explore. And so Dr. Gail Druce from the biology department gave a virtual tour here of about 10 minutes on YouTube. And so we put this together as kind of a starting point to introduce the teachers to the space. So we're not going to watch that today, but I can share the link. You're more than welcome to watch that at your own pace. As I showed, one of the other things we did was put together a 360 tour. So there are various scenes for that. And then we also put together a tour in Google Earth. And so now I'm going to attempt to pull that up and show you this tour. And so Google Earth is another tool that can be used to teach. I presume some of you probably are already using it. I was familiar with the desktop version, but they've now come out with the browser version. It used to just be for Chrome. Today I'm going to do it in Firefox. There are still some bugs with it, but it is actually got some pretty nice features. One of the things they just came out with recently, there's some new time-lapse imagery that they worked on to show how Earth has changed over time. And so you can watch shopping centers and coal mines open up. You can see ice sheets changing. There's a lot of interesting applications with this when it comes to nature and you know, our impact on the environment. So let's see. Here is the tour that I created. Now, at the time, we were specifically working with Chestnut Ridge School District, so that's why they are featured here. But this allows, I can do present mode, and this pops up. On Chrome, this would cover the entire screen. It would all be blue. With Firefox, it appears to just be part of it right now. But this is kind of the introduction presentation slide. And then I can press the little arrow down here, and will actually fly me into the school districts down at Chestnut Ridge. And there's a little placard card that comes up here, and you're able to add text and images and those types of things. So I believe that's the school mission. Then we can fly out. And so my second stop on the tour is the St. Francis University. And again, there's this little information coming up here. Fly over more specifically, I was able to draw an outline of the Watershed Trail. So this is where you would walk, this green line. And then if we continue, You can fly down, and so Google Earth is 3D imagery, so you can get a good idea of the topography of the area. And you can see that the water in this area, which I've outlined on the red line, is kind of more or less the general flow of the water. So these higher areas, the upper fields, the top of the university, flow down into Lake St. Francis, and then they're going to make their way to the Susquehanna River and out to the Chesapeake Bay. And so we're able to fly out here and see that. And so this took me a good, probably hour or two. I don't know if it was the most useful use of my time, but I did kind of follow along the pathway there and made it over to the Susquehanna River, as you can see here. So you're able to fly in, fly out, look at these various areas. So this could be something that could be valuable for your students if you want to see where the water flows from your school. So I also did this with Chestnut Ridge and followed the pathway down there. And so the water from St. Francis, the water from Chestnut Ridge, they're both ultimately ending up in the Susquehanna River and going to the Chesapeake Bay, but they're taking slightly different paths to get there, as you can see. And then we're able to do the wider river. So it flows down here to the mouth of the bay. And then we're able to fly down and see the bay. Now it's pretty easy to be able to add a location. Let's say you wanted to add an additional spot to this. So if I back up here, I can hit, oh no, it logged me out. Why is that? Huh. Well, let's say, if we wanted to add a location, I was going to show you the National Aquarium. We would be able to click on it. It would fly us to it. There it is. And then we can just hit add to project. So it actually is, there we go. So we can hit save and it would add it to the tour that was there. So it's a pretty nice interface and a nice tour that you can provide for your students. All right. So I'm going to close out of this because I think it's running my computer very slowly. And we shall move on. So another technology that we have been using is ArcGIS StoryMaps. And this is through Esri, which is a leader in mapping technology. Perhaps some of you are familiar with them. And they have story maps. So these are basically websites that can tell a story. And at one point they were free. Unfortunately, it appears that the new version, you do have to pay, it looks like maybe $100 and then an additional $100 if I understand it correctly. But some of your schools may have licenses that allow you to construct this and have an account for free. So with this, you are able to add some features in to make it more dynamic than just kind of a plain old website. So let me try to share my screen again to this one. All right. And as I scroll down the page here at the top, I just have some general information, some pictures. But as we come down here, there's actually a map and there are these different numbers explaining different parts of the Watershed Trail. So again, we're back to St. Francis in the Watershed Trail area beyond the mall. So as you scroll down the page, the map eventually stops and these little cards over on the side come up. So the first one, the first number is the field. And then I've also created a link so you could click to view it in 360 degrees. And as you scroll down, there are these different sites and the map will actually zoom in to these sites. And so we can see different parts of the trail, learn about succession, check out the stream. And so this is another application that we've got since we weren't able to visit the trail in person. and then we reach Lake St. Francis. Now down here at the bottom, I think only one of these maps is loading right now, which is unfortunate, but you can actually do a side-by-side comparison. So say you have 2 different years, you could look and see how the land has changed over time and swipe left to right. So that's another technology with these story maps. And I have some example ones here at the links at the end for you. Now, what's something that somebody else has done? Well, with Chestnut Ridge this year, we've been working with them on some outdoor education with their students and testing the water quality and those types of things. And so you can see here, the high school, I want to focus on that area. And over here, they have a pond. And so this pond has been a focus of some of their water testing this year. And you'll notice that there's a water treatment plant right nearby. And so the water is actually running through the pond once it exits that treatment site and into the stream and goes eventually on its way. Now, if we zoom in here, this was created, I believe, in the platform Moodle. I don't have any actually the 360 images to show you, but this is the interface, the picture, where the students can go and click. Each of these black circles with the arrows has a 360-degree scene. And so the students can go there and explore that site and see what is there, even if they're back in the classroom. So I thought it was a really great application using immersive technology. And it's still somewhat under development. Any questions at this point? All right, so in our remaining time, I've got some already prepared immersive technology examples for you. Hopefully some of these can be of use to you. The first one, I'm gonna highlight these in the slides, and then if we have time, I'll actually go out and show you a couple examples live demoed. Oh my goodness, nobody, I think am I not showing you this? I'm not showing you that, I am showing you the wrong screen. Let me back up. There we are. This is the pond. And this is the area where the imagery was taken. So here are some examples. This is Terrain 360. There are various locations throughout the eastern US for the most part. A lot of them in the Chesapeake Bay region where they have gone down the river and taken imagery, much like Google Street View, where you can see the rivers. One example is the Susquehanna River, the West Branch, and you can do a tour in the Williamsport area. Here's a picture from that. The Chesapeake Conservancy has a number of locations where you can do this as well through Terrain 360's imagery, including Tangier Island. And then there's this program through Clark County in the school district in Virginia. And this one is pretty interactive. You can click on the different areas and hear things. There are sounds of the water running. There are some videos where the teachers are doing measurements. And so the students, this one's designed for 4th grade. The 4th graders then have a worksheet and they're able to analyze the habitat and find whether or not this would be suitable for brook trout. So it was a really great interactive use of technology and education here coming together when you can't necessarily be together in a pandemic. And then finally, through PBS, there's a program called Watershed. And there's a lot of 360-degree videos where you can actually tour watersheds. There's interviews with specialists. They're at wetlands and farms in various places. And so you're able to tour those in 360 degrees. And then Arizona State University has virtual field trips. Most of these are geologically related, not necessarily to watersheds, but there is a really, really cool one about rainforests that I wanted to highlight. So if you go to this website and click the rainforest button, you can have this really lush greenery, and then you can click on the cameras and learn more information about the birds that live there, about the various plant species, and click to hear sounds and very detailed, and you can learn about the research going on in the rainforest. Here are some example story maps. I have these available on the website that I've put together. And then one other resource, not exactly immersive technology related, although this is a data platform where you can see data that's been collected. This is through the NOAA Chesapeake Bay office and some of the partners. And so these are data points where you can collect water and various things and then enter this data and share it with other people. There weren't too many local examples. This one from Racetown branch of the Juniata is from 2010, but there is data available there. Water temperature, you see nitrate, phosphate, all kinds of different things that were measured. And so that data is out there to visualize. And then here at the university, I've put together this website that has various imagery from local sites. So if you have a suggestion for where maybe we should make more scenes, please let me know. We've done Canoe Creek, State Park, a lot of stuff in Hollidaysburg, some stuff done in Bedford, Shawnee State Park. There's some stuff here in Loretto. But if you've got an idea, say, hey, that'd be really great. Underground or underwater imagery looks really interesting. But I think the sky's the limit with this. And then also, if you're looking to create your own imagery and don't have a camera or cameras, let us know. We can possibly assist with that. If you want to get to this site, one of the easy ways to do it is search immersive watersheds on Google, and it should be the first thing that comes up. Are there any questions at this point?
Michael, that cardboard dome,
Yes.
how many people, average size people, fit in that?
So there were, I think it's around 16 feet across, and the inflatable dome is similar size. So I would say somewhere around, oh, Lanika, are you listening to this? Do you know?
Yes, I would say 20 comfortably.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And let me add what Michael was telling, that our portable planetarium, it sits 30 kids and 25 adults. So, and this one pretty much would do the same. It's just we never try to put that many people. So that's why I'm saying that 20 definitely will be. It's a good number, but 25 will work. If your class is 25, for instance, it will work.
Thank you.
So we have a question, how deep have the cameras been used? I'm gonna say maybe 2 feet is probably about as far as I've had it, maybe a little bit further. The catch was when we were at Racetown Lake, the water was pretty dark, and so we weren't able to see too much under there. The one place that I did have something pretty nice, let me see if I can pull this one up for you. Here is, this is at Parker Dam State Park, right off the boardwalk. I was able to set it down in the water on the ground. Oh, actually, I think this one is looking down. Yeah, this one is looking down. So this is some grasses there. And so you could explore that. No fish or anything right around it. But when I did set it down on the floor base of the water, kicked up all kinds of dirt and stuff. And so that was something when I've done this a couple of times where I end up having to wait a couple of minutes for the water to kind of clear up to get a nice picture again. So yeah, it definitely depends on how clear the water is. This was a nice, bright, sunny day, so that will factor into it. In general, when you're trying to create these images, it does seem that a nice, bright sky turns out to be the best. Blue sky looks really nice then as well, but sometimes you can get a little bit of glare. So it all depends. But yeah, so there's that one. Anything else that might be of interest here? I told Jean I'm gonna, Mrs. Jean Sina was on here, and she is presenting about turtles tomorrow for our Cosmic Cocktails presentation. So if you're not familiar with Science Cafe, every first Thursday of the month, we have a presentation, and it is virtual. It'll be on Facebook, and you're welcome to join in. The presentation will be about turtles. Let me find our turtle here. When I was out walking along the Watershed trail this fall, I just happened upon a turtle, and it was super exciting. It took about 7 minutes for it to come out of its shell, but once it did, where is it? It was really cool to see, and I got video of it. So if you want to watch 7 minutes of a turtle emerging from its shell in 360, it's floating out there on the web. So there's the turtle in the shot. But please join us tomorrow at 6 on Facebook, and we'd be glad to have you. So, do you think that there are applications for immersive technology in your classroom? Okay, possibly, yeah. So, very good. Thank you for the feedback on that. Do we have any more questions? Well, if you have anything else that you would like to know, please let me know. And is there anything else I would like to show you? Let's see. This is the one that was developed for the 4th graders. I think there's also a 6th grade one that was developed down in Clark County, Virginia. And so if you click here, you can see it gives you an introduction, and then you're able to spin it around. There's some sound. There's a little video over here. So I thought it was a really great application. This one's about temperature. So there's a lot of different ways that the technology can go. The one challenge is it's very data intensive or graphic intensive, bytes intensive. So it does take up a lot of space, and it can be slow loading. But overall, I think the technology is pretty neat. Some cool tools out there, so I hope you make use of them. If you do have any more questions about it, please let me know. At this point, I will put in the chat the feedback form, and I thank you all for attending. I'll hang around here for a couple of minutes if you have anything else, and make sure you get to the forms. But we're up on our hour here, so thanks for joining, everybody, and have a great afternoon.